Greetings everybody and welcome back to another ASMR video. I had a request on TikTok to do a video of my guitars. And I have a couple of them and I thought I would start with this one. It's not my first guitar, but it's my, most prized guitar. I have a acoustic guitar that is just kind of a cheapo guitar that my mom bought me when I was first starting, and I still have that one, but it's just a really poorly made guitar. You know, when you're starting out with something and you don't know anything about it, and my mom just kind of bought me the first one that we could afford, and I learned on that one. So that was my first one, and then I got an electric guitar. I remember my parents said if I took for, I think, a year or 2 years or something like that, I could eventually get an electric guitar. So I did that, and I got this red Stratocaster knockoff with a white pickguard, and I really loved that guitar. It was my first electric guitar, and I used that one for another couple of years. And then when I started kind of getting into bands, then I kind of wanted to, get another guitar, or I don't really know the reason why. I was probably in my, 13, 14 or something around there. But I saw this guitar at a guitar shop, and it's one of those just had to have it type moments. So I saved up, and I think this is around $400 or so. And I saved up and bought this, and that's kind of more so why it's my prized possession, because it was something that, I picked out the red Stratocaster, but this is when I had a little bit more knowledge of guitars and more experience, and knew what I wanted, and then saw it and made it mine. So that's what this one is. So I saved up for it, and I've used it for many, many years. I think I bought this one in 1994, somewhere around there. And so it's been about 30 years or so. But this one has taken me for a lot of shows. I would always use this one. If I had a band and we had like a first show or a last show, or very important shows that I wanted to just kind of look flashy and show off, I'd use this guitar. And yeah. So I really like this guitar because it's the first one that was kind of high-end. My Stratocaster is red with a white pickguard. Not sure if I've said that on here already. But this one was the first one that's like really high-end, has the wood grain through it, has the higher-end hardware, has the multiple pickup configurations. This is what I liked the most when I saw this guitar, is that it has multiple ways to change the sound. Although I do believe this thing might be wired incorrectly, because generally what this thing is a pickup selector, so you'll start from when it's up near your head or the top of the guitar, you're on the neck pickup, which is what this is because it's closer to the neck. And then as you slide it down through, you move throughout the pickups, and then you're on the bridge pickup, and that's what this is. And then this little switch here is usually called a coil splitter, because these are sometimes referred to as coils because this is a single coil, another single coil, and another one. And these ones together are what's known as a humbucker, because these ones with just one winding or one polarity direction can have a tendency to pull in noise and hum from electrical signals around you. And what these ones do is they have a polarity going one way and the other one has a polarity going the other way. And it cancels out anything that's not electrical signal from the string. So anything hum mainly is what it'll cancel. And so the term humbucker is kind of what it's known as. So what this thing does is, so when you have these two together, you get this kind of thicker sound because there's two pickups catching the notes. And what you can do is split them so only one of them will be working, and this will then give you that single coil pickup sound. Sometimes you do get hum introduced, but a lot of times with these pickups, they're made pretty well these days, and they don't have as much hum as they used to. But so, when I would use this guitar, I would find that sometimes if I was in this pickup selection, that maybe these two are active, or if I was in this pickup selection, that this one and maybe one of these is active. I did create a diagram. What I would do is I would take a Allen wrench, and you can like tap on these pickups, and when you're plugged into an amp, there's a little magnet in here. When you're plugged into an amplifier, you'll hear the sound kind of do a loud poppy or kind of a loud clicky sound. And then you'll know which pickup is active. So I did that for this. I would go through here, tap on this, and write what's active. Then I would go down through the next one, tap, figure out which one was active. So I did chart it out maybe a year or so ago, and noticed that it was very different from most common guitar pickup selector patterns. So I think that's kind of why in later years this guitar sort of fell out of favor, because I would generally, when I played it when I was younger, I would leave the pickup selector down here, which I believe is on this one, and then I would switch between humbucker or single coil and kind of just leave it there. I do remember in one of these positions I could turn this thing on and move this thing up, and it gave it kind of an acoustic sound, which I don't know if it was because this pickup, this one here, can either be a single coil or a smaller mini humbucker. And I've never opened this up to see which one it is, so I'm not quite sure. So that could be some of the reason for not knowing which sound is which, because I don't know if I'm getting two single coil sounds when I have one of these selected, or if I'm getting a humbucker and a single coil, or if I'm getting just a single sound. Because sometimes when I have it on here, where it's all the way up here, then technically just this pickup should be on. But I noticed when I select this, I get an entirely different sound. And it seems like it's turning on one of these. So I'm thinking it's maybe what's called a soap bar pickup, which a soap bar is kind of like a single coil. It's like a mix between a single coil and a humbucker, because if this is a soap bar, you'd have the single coil winding, but you'd have it around a larger magnet and more winds, and that would produce a little bit thicker sound, but still keep some of the definition that you would get in a single coil. So I do know I need to probably take this into a luthier or a guitar shop somehow and have them kind of figure out if it's wired correctly or if it needs to be rewired. That's kind of a fun sound. Yeah. Also, I do try to keep my things looking as new and as nice as I possibly can. I do like the idea of like a road-worn guitar, like you see on some famous musicians, like the infamous Stevie Ray Vaughan guitar, which has got a lot of cracks and chips and all that from just years and years of playing. But I also like the idea of keeping something you really value just in very nice condition. Well, as nice as you can. I didn't really take care of this when I was younger. I could have done more polishing and cleaning. But also, a lot of the gold has worn away from like oils from the skin. And you can see down here from pick scratches and just maybe putting my pinky down here. But the one big thing is this little kind of crack or chunk right here. I had it in a gig bag one time for a show, and then it fell out. And usually the gig bags are pretty soft and padded, because I've had guitars kind of drop and fall before, and we didn't really think too much of it. But then I opened the guitar, and this was kind of smashed. Grabbed as many of the pieces as I could, and then tried to glue them back on, and did a very poor job of it. But that's really the only guitar that suffered the most amount of damage that I have. So it's kind of very sad for this guitar, because I actually wouldn't mind any of the other guitars I own suffering damage. This one was the one that was kind of the most devastating. But such is life. This one does also have a crack in the plastic volume knob. But yeah, this one does have a lot of wear. I was actually going to try and maybe polish it up. I do have this guitar polish, which is very, very old as well. I think I bought this once, and I don't use it a ton. So it's lasted me quite a while. Spray some on here. Just kind of wipe it. They do say not to spray it on the wood, but I normally do. Because it will eventually get on there anyway. So I figure why not. There's a little hair down there. Hopefully the noise from the monitor fan isn't too big of a deal. It's the summer while I'm recording this, so things are getting a bit warm. I'll move this closer so you can see. So I did want to try some tapping on the strings with this because I think that's kind of an interesting sound. Maybe I'll move it a little closer to the microphone. You might actually hear a couple different noises because there's wind chimes going on and maybe some car noises. This one's kind of a cartoony sound. If you've ever heard the Rage Against the Machine song called Bulls on Parade, apparently the Allen wrench scraped across the strings. That's kind of how they do the intro and the verse.